any relationship advice, communication is the one thing. Hi, everyone. I'm Charisse.
And I'm David Bosscher.
And you're listening to Destroy the Hairdresser,
where we teach you to salon differently.
If you are still using a front desk in your salon, it may be time to future-proof your business with Aura Salonware. Aura allows you and your team to check clients out from any device. That means there's no need for a front desk or front desk overhead. What's even more amazing is that clients can check themselves out using the Aura app from their own device. With Aura Salonware, you can finally let technology streamline your business. Start removing your front desk today by visiting aurasalonware.com/DTH to receive special discounts and promos. Are you exhausted trying to get your team to understand the cost of product use? Let's jump into the future with Salon Scale. Have more proactive conversations with real numbers that can help create less waste. Salon Scale software is a pro stylist app that gets your team educated on the real costs of doing business.
Salon Scale is a great solution for wasting less color and making more profit. Visit salonscale.com/DTH and use code DTH10 at checkout for 10% off. So Cyd didn't go to bed till 5 a.m. last night.
Okay.
And if you watch her story, you did a whole...
That was a lot. By the time this comes out, no one's going to see those.
Yeah, but it's going to explain how you're feeling today.
What's sad is it's not even because I did anything cool. I just drank too much coffee. It's not like I was out raging and having a good time. That pissed me off even more. At least if I was going to be up till 5, it was
Yesterday we were recording and she goes, I've had a lot of coffee today.
Mm-hmm. And I drink decaf normally.
Not anymore. Now you're trapped.
Now I am trapped because I had to get another coffee this morning just to put on my pants. It was that bad.
Well, the reason I brought it up is because today we're going to be talking about partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I'm going to have to carry today.
Yeah.
But you had to carry yesterday, so.
Thank God it's only, yeah. I'll just sit here and smile at you.
Yeah, exactly. People are like, is Cyd in that episode? She is.
Barely.
So I was going to ask you, when it comes to salons, I'm curious what you think. Would you rather own a salon by yourself or would you rather partner with someone? And what would that look like if you partnered?
That's a really tough question because I would rather do it by myself because I know that we are very fortunate to have the partnership we do as best friends and business owners, where there's true wanting each other to grow. And I don't think that that's not easy to find. People are like, I'm going to go in business with my best friend. And I'm like, are you guys doing well in life right now? Yeah. It's not going to work. You have to
if you haven't struggled together.
Yeah, you have to go. I think that's why we've made it this long. Hanging out. We talk every day. We talk all day. We have work conversations, best friend conversations. We love being around each other.
We have fights.
And then we make up and it's even better. And I think that's why we went through that struggle together as kids, young, and then grew this business together. And I think right now, if we decided to do that,
I don't think it would work.
It wouldn't work. There's this moment of I can't explain it.
It's like we had a baby and we had to raise it together. And then you look at those people that
now we're co-parenting.
Yeah, you had those people that got together because they had a baby, but they should never have been together.
Yeah.
So I think, when I talk to people about partnerships, the one thing I see happen the most that I would warn against is people that want to partner so they don't have to do certain things. Or I want help with, I don't want to do it by myself. I want, it's coming from this need of
or fear that
I think that's what it is.
Do it themselves.
Yeah, I don't know how to do this part. So I need to have a partner who does. And it's that's not really how partnership works.
Mm-hmm.
In our minds, that's how it works. They do this and I do that and it's perfect.
Yeah.
But that's not really how.
You and I have it's funny because right now, the things that I'm doing in our business are things that you did in our business a couple years ago, and the things that you're doing are things, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's everything ebbs and flows, and you have to be able to ride that wave together, because if you cannot and you get too set and this is my job and that, it's no, your job together is to always make sure that the benefit or the business is benefiting. And if it's not, then things have to be moved around. And sometimes because mental health or boundaries or burnouts, you have to like always be communicating and being like, I can't do this anymore. Okay, you're going to take on. And sometimes, like we were talking about it this morning, sometimes you've taken on more one year and the next year I've taken on more because life happens.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't have clarity in what their roles are. So it's good to have clarity. Like, you do this, I do this. But that's not set in I hear salon owners that have partners and they'll be like, well, that's their job. They're supposed to do that. It's like, but they're not doing it. Mm-hmm. And they're not an employee.
And then the other person takes it on without communicating, and then there creates resentment.
Right.
And then now it's not, but they're being paid legally a 50-50 split, but the work isn't 50-50. There's no exchange of communication.
And I will say it's never 50-50.
Yeah, I agree.
It just never is.
I think but
daily,
if it's
monthly, weekly.
Exactly. But if it's always flowing, it's like at the end of the year, it's 50-50. You know what I mean?
Yes. The effort overall
exactly
is 50-50. But like you said, there's so many people who are like, I'm going to open a salon with my best friend. And like you said, if things are good and you guys are getting along and the only reason you're doing it is because you get along, I would 100% avoid it.
You should do it because you're like, we can fight, make up, and collectively have the benefit of the business. And like, that to me is more valuable. I'm like, have you had a disagreement? And did you work it out together?
I think we have a good knockout fight once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're in each other's shit. Like, we were joking. I'm like, sometimes I feel like I'm more married to you than my wife. Like, that's going to happen. But sometimes it has to happen. Like, it just has to happen.
It's funny, as like being in a partnership, when I open salons or want to open other businesses, I'm like, then there comes a moment of like, do I bring my business partner with me? Do I do it by myself? How does this all work? And I think also having those conversations is really important because I do think people still, even in partnerships, want to do their own things.
Yeah.
And we get used to like, well, we do everything together. And it's like, well.
We figured out that like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, like, I think around 2018, 2019, because you got really sick and I had to go do, it was when we were on tour. Oh, yeah. And I had to go teach it was a 3-day thing by myself. And that was the first time that I had taught without you. And then it opened up a conversation of, we could have more ground if we taught separately. Like, we don't have to teach together. And then it created this whole like, okay, well, I have this idea to teach this class within our business, but we were trying to do everything together. Yep. And it was halting our growth.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember getting sick and being like, oh, shit. Mm-hmm. And then I knew you could do it. Mm-hmm. We just had never done it.
Yeah, like so it was terrifying.
And I think you killed it. Mm-hmm. You loved it. It was amazing.
I was like, I want to do this all the time.
And now you do a lot of like modern salon stuff that I don't do. You do a bunch of talks and stuff I don't do. And I think it like...
Which is relieving to you because you don't actually like traveling and being on stage. And I love traveling and being on stage.
I like being on stage. If someone could
it's like right outside your house.
Yeah, if someone could just bring the stage to me and then I can just walk up.
Yeah.
And then walk back down. And now a word from our sponsors.
What if you could still give your clients great hair with less products? What if that product line made you money with less inventory on the shelves? What if that product line was also made with gentle ingredients, is biodegradable, and the packaging is refillable? All this may seem impossible, but with Hair Story, it is possible. Hair Story is a brand that is equal parts mindful as it is great hair. Give your clients amazing products while filling your bank account with extra cash. Ready to try New Wash for free? Visit hairstory.com/DTH to get pro access today.
I think a lot of partners, they try to get along. When I coach, I have a few students right now.
I love coaching partners.
I do too. It's so fulfilling because there's this thing that I think partners do. They're like, we work great together. Like, we just are great together. Like, they don't want to admit.
And I know, I'm like looking at them. I'm like, there's so many problems.
We know that's not true. Yeah. Like, I'm sure overall, in the big picture, your love for each other overshadows all problems, but that's not what we're coaching about. Mm-mm. And it's so funny to try to, especially when they're in front of each other, we just love working together.
Oh, separately? It's like,
and then you pull them apart in a private session and they're like, that person's driving me completely insane. And I'm like, of course they are. Like, that's
And we're like, why do both of you have to do payroll? Like, why do both
Why are you
of
both doing payroll? Why are you both doing social media? Why are you both
Yeah.
or like just random thing, and you start to find out what's really going on when you talk to the individual. And I think people are so afraid of like, oh, I don't want my business partner to think that I don't like them or that I'm upset with them or that I don't think they do. Like, you have to have those
Sometimes I'm like,
debates.
I'm upset with you today. And you're like, me too. And I'm like, cool. And then the next day we're like, we good? Cool. Move on. Let's get this done.
But you have to communicate about it all the time.
Yeah. It is a marriage. It is a relationship. And in any relationship advice, communication is the one thing. So if you're not constantly talking to each other, like about our anything, it's going to fail. We taught a class called couples therapy. And one of the first things we have them do is like identify their reactive systems and what type of leaders they were. And it was so cool to see what type of leader they thought each other were, what type of reactive systems they thought, and it was all of a sudden they both like, and then we taught them how to react and communicate with those reactive systems and leadership types. And then my favorite was when we had them identify their roles and they could not identify their roles in their own business. Like,
yeah, well, if your business partners write down a list, if you want to identify what your roles are, you write down a list of what you do and what you don't do. And you do it separately. You can't do it together. And then you bring the list together. And then through kind of crossing certain things out, you can see who's in charge of what, who wants to do what. And my favorite is a list of what I don't do. And then if you both don't do it, that's where you need to hire people to do.
Well, I was going to say that's why we have Beck and Drew and have our back end team, because when we kind of figured out what we don't want to do or what we were doing that was keeping us from what we needed to be doing in our business, which is running it and being the faces of it and, being influential and coaching, that's when we're like, we have to hire someone for this specific job. And then what's great to see is like that job starts to evolve and flow too. So.
Absolutely. I think partnerships are great if you can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're someone who if you're someone who doesn't want to be held back like me, but you need someone to hold you back, partnerships are great.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're someone who doesn't want to move forward, but you need someone to pull you forward, partnerships are great. But I think if you're both someone who's like, if you're pulling each other apart or you're slowing each other down,
passive, yeah.
Like I've seen a lot of partners that nothing gets done because they both live in fear. They live in fear of the business, the next move, each other.
Mm-hmm. And the staff's like, who's driving this ship?
And then everyone's like, and then usually what happens is one of the staff members becomes the leader just by default.
Yeah.
And they're usually the wrong person. Have you ever worked for a salon where the leader was absent and
Yep. And that stylist made all the decisions and it was me. I was like, you obviously can't run this business. I got it.
It's true. Most places that I worked, if the owners were absent, which a lot of them were, I would just naturally take over.
I will say, if you can get through all the things that we've talked about, like really identifying big picture, how you react to different things, being aware of that, what type of leaders you are, and like just because you want to be an educator in the salon doesn't mean that you should be,
Right.
If you can get through all that, having a business partner is so awesome. And I say this all the time because like when there are times where I need support or like need a person to feel what I'm feeling, it's great to have you because it's like, oh, I'm not reading these shitty comments online by myself, or we can laugh about them, or, you and I kind of coach each other all the time. And that's so great to see because it's like, we're not afraid to call each other out on like, okay,
right.
Your actions or my actions might be hurting something. We need to change it. So
also I think the biggest benefit that I've experienced, which I've experienced a lot of them, but the biggest one was during COVID when I had a little bit of a mental breakdown.
A mentee B?
A mentee B. And I...
Like most of the world?
Like most of the world. I stopped eating, stopped sleeping, lost
Your anxiety was...
My anxiety was really bad. And I just remember like, I thought to myself, like, if Cyd wasn't here, I don't know what would happen with the business. And you're about to have a baby.
A bebe.
With Astrid, and...
I know, and I think all the time, I'm like, I can effortlessly go on maternity leave without having to worry about my when you own a business, a lot of people don't set those boundaries because they can't walk away from it. So it's great.
And even if you don't have a partner, you can set things up to still run.
Streamline.
But it is always nice to have another critical thinking person there when you need them. And that was a lifesaver for me because I would have just died. That's what it felt like, at least. But yeah, I think going back to the idea of having a partner and whether I should or I shouldn't, or I want to work with this person because I like them, or, you know, when Cyd and I met, our partnership was kind of funny because you always tell people the story, like, we weren't very close. And then we
just worked together. There was no beef or anything, you know?
There was no beef. We just kind of like were in passing. And then we did a photo shoot together. I think there was stuff before that, but that was
it.
That was like the day I was like, oh, we're going to like do
work
something
together forever.
I still have those. Actually, the photo came up last night.
I know.
And it was like zombie makeup.
Wasn't it called Culture?
No, that was our Naha.
Oh, that's
shoot.
right. That's right.
I don't know what it was called.
The zombie. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Where the hair was wrapped around the head.
Yes.
We'll have to show the children what that looks like soon. And like now I look at it and I'm like, oh, it's so juvenile.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
I still love it. I think it's so fun.
We looked great. You know, we were 0 pounds. And
Starving artists.
We did look like zombies. But yeah, I think, you know, the whole idea of partnership is, I think it happens naturally. And I think if it's not a natural thing and you're not willing to go through struggles and you're not willing to battle things out, our coach always says you can fight as long as you're fighting about the right things. And I've always taken that very seriously in my relationships and my partnerships. Like
what's the point of the fight if it's not for a proactive reason?
It's either you're fighting because your ego is in the way, or you're fighting because you both think you know what's best for something. And you might as well fight if you both think you know what's best for something.
Next time on Destroy the Hairdresser, the podcast.
It should take you one sentence to describe your pricing.
David, I charge $200 an hour. That was one sentence.